Hello and welcome back once again to After the Credits. Today we're talking about Geostorm. So what do I think of Geostorm? Again, surprisingly, for basically another disaster film, it was actually one of the better movies of the year, which is kind of nice to actually have a couple good movies in a row after months of mediocre, middle-of-the-road movies. But in that same train of thought, it wasn't the greatest film. It's basically just, like I said, your average disaster film. It's a little predictable, plays out about the way you'd think it would. But it's, again, one of those kind of action-y films where you can kind of switch off your brain and don't have to think about things, and you can just enjoy things flashing on the screen. And from that aspect, like I said, it was enjoyable. If you want to go into it with some in-depth, like, environmental message, all that, it's not there, so don't go looking for an actual in-depth story. Just go in and switch off. So the basic premise of the movie is weather patterns were getting out of control, basically due to global warming. And a bunch of scientists got together and developed this satellite network that basically could disrupt weather patterns. So, like, if there was a hurricane forming, it could, like, fire a low-intensity laser to change, like, the cold front mixing with the hot front. It would heat up the cold front so that they would be two hot fronts mixing on top of each other and just blow over, versus creating the cyclone that would become a hurricane. Thunderstorms, it's able to dissipate clouds through some seeding thing. It was a little vague on exactly how it was accomplishing all this, but it basically shows a little bit of the ability to control weather patterns and tides and whatnot. So this whole network of satellites is controlled by the International Space Station, and it's kind of developed privately, so the government has issues with it because it's not regulated by any one government. It's sort of regulated by the United States as far as NASA was partially used to launch the stuff into space, but it was kind of put online without government approval and all this, so the government kind of doesn't like the guy who built the whole thing. So once they acquire the company, they basically fire him. Then it cuts to 3 years later, and there's a malfunction on the space station. We need to get somebody up there who knows how to fix it. And at first the guy's like, we need to send a team up there to kind of troubleshoot everything, and they're like, no, we're only going to send one person. And he goes, well, if we're only going to send one person, there's only one person we can send, the guy who built the thing, who knows it inside and out. And the guy's kind of reluctant to do it. He's like, you guys fired me, so F off. And they're like, do you want to be known as the guy who destroyed the world when everything comes crashing down? So he kind of agrees to do it, but he's basically like, I'm not going to answer to anybody, so blah, blah, blah. So he goes up to the space station, finds out what's wrong with it. Turns out, spoiler, sabotage, in case you couldn't guess. So they're kind of trying to figure out who's sabotaging it and why. And then he has a counterpart down on Earth that's doing all the investigating. Who's behind it? What government's behind it? How far into that government does it go? Is it something we can stop? Who do we have to contact? Who can we trust? Basically the whole spy game type of thing of you can't trust anybody, but you have to get somewhere. And eventually, spoiler, they figure out what's going on with it, and they kind of solve the problem, but it results in total destruction of the network to a degree. So basically it's like Earth is back on its own, and we'll just have to deal with weather patterns again until they can reconstruct everything. But, it gets your happy ending, so it is what it is. So what would I give as far as a star rating? Like I said, it's one of the better films I saw of the year, but again, it's more plot-driven and not really a lot going on with it, so I'd probably give it a 3.5. It's basically your average middle-of-the-road disaster film, but it was nice to be able to switch off and actually enjoy something for once compared to some of the other crap that's been out lately. So it gets bumped up to a 3.5 versus a 3. So that's all I have to say about this one. Again, as always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. The links are down in the description. Click the bell next to the subscribe button so you get notifications every time I post new content. And until next time, I'll see you after the credits.